All right, so when you're looking at atomic structure, you have 3 subatomic particles. Protons, which are positive, they are in the nucleus. You have neutrons, which are neutral. They are also in the nucleus. So these two right here make up the mass. So protons plus neutrons equals the mass of an atom. All right, electrons are negative, and they're in the electron cloud. Okay, they don't have much mass, so that's why we don't even include them. So things you need to make sure that you know about all of this. So protons, the atomic number equals the number of protons. So protons identify the element. So if I change my protons, I've got a new element. Neutrons can vary, and they form what's called isotopes. So isotopes are atoms of the same element, but different numbers of neutrons. Now, if you remember, I said that neutrons and protons make up the mass, so therefore it's going to change my mass. Okay? All right, electrons can also be manipulated. If you gain or lose electrons, that forms ions, okay, and gives you a charge. So if you gain, then your charge is going to be negative. If you lose, your charge is going to be positive. Okay? So, another word you need to remember, these negative ones are called anions. The positive ones are called cations. So, what I want to do is go through and show you, here's a couple more things before I get looking at the chart. If you see something like this, if you see like calcium and the number 40, this right here is the mass. You find the atomic number by just simply looking at where calcium is on the periodic table. You might see calcium written like this. So this is the atomic number. This is the mass. Okay, so there's varying ways of how to do this. If you look at the actual periodic table, you'll see calcium, you'll see the atomic number up here, and you'll see the mass down there. So you just need to be familiar with how all of those work. So let's go through and look at how we can do atomic structure. So if I look at this, this is my atomic number. This is my protons. This is, oh, sorry, no, that's not protons. This is the mass. This is the protons. This is the electrons. This is the neutrons. This is the charge. And this here is the symbol. Okay, so I'm going to go through and do a couple of these with you. So if my atomic number is 21, the atomic number I told you is the same as the number of protons. So this is going to be 21. If I look, my charge is 0. Anytime I have a 0 charge, that means my protons equals my electrons. So then the last thing I need to do is come up with my neutrons. So neutrons is mass minus your protons, so this would be 21. So I would write my symbol. I'd find out what the element 21 was, which is Sc, and I would write 42 and then 21 like that, and then I wouldn't put any kind of charge. Okay, let's look at this one. So my number of protons is 83. So that means the atomic number has to be 83. All right, I know that my neutrons are 126, so 126 plus the number of protons, which is 83, gives me a mass of 209. Okay. Now, if you'll notice, my number of protons is 83, my number of electrons is 80, so I have a charge of plus 3 because I have 3 more protons than I do electrons. So then when I write this, I find 83, which is Bi, and I write 209, and I write 83, and then I put a plus charge of 3. Okay? All right, let's do another one. Let's do number 13 on the paper that has a negative. So once again, if I know my protons, then I can know my atomic number. That is the same. All right, now item number 53 is iodine. So that's my symbol. Notice that I have a charge of -1. I know my mass is 128, and I know that my atomic number is 53, so I can fill that out. So the last thing I need to do is fill out my electrons and my neutrons. Well, if I've got a -1 charge, that means I've got one more electron than I do protons, so that's going to make that 54. And then to find out your neutrons, it's your mass minus the atomic number, which is going to give you 75. So that's how you go through looking at atomic number, atomic structure. So just a reminder, atomic number equals the number of protons. If it's a neutral atom, my protons equal my electrons. Okay, my mass is always protons plus neutrons. If I don't know my neutrons equals the mass minus the protons.